cricket falls.
G'day cricket fans and welcome to Sock TV and Spot On Hose and Fittings Clubhouse, and I'm your host Anthony Telfer, and it's an absolute pleasure to share another exciting episode of the Spot On Hose and Fittings Clubhouse. So before we dive in, don't forget to like, share and comment and to keep the conversation alive and vibrant. The Clubhouse is a space where we celebrate the game, relive the highlights and share stories with our teammates, opponents and the umpies over a cold beer or a soft drink. And we've just recently secured Easy Time Brewery to be our beverage supplier for the tournament in Mildura. So we're looking forward to sharing a few coldies with Casper when we get to Mildura. Anyway, whether you're a grassroots cricketer or an international star, there's something here for everyone. And as always, I'm joined tonight by my great mate and Aussie broadcasting legend, Peter Walsh. What's caught your eye this week, mate?
Oh, what hasn't? There's been so much going on. Usually you go to the back page of the paper, I do anyway, and you read about all the sports highlights. But sport's been front page, second page, third page, and then you flick past the race results and the race form, get to the back page, and it starts all over again. But I'm very, very excited because soon the Big M Mildura. What a place. Cricketers from all over the place with different shapes and sizes. Personal bests they will try and achieve. Whether they will or not, I don't know. But we'll have interviews, stories, happy snaps, and we will appease all and sundry. That'll be my go, and I'll be with the fabulous, peerless Pat Silcox. We'll be running around and annoying the you-know-what out of people to get their stories so that we can show them regularly on the spirit of cricket. Almost September. Away we go, and looking forward to our special guest tonight, Telf.
Yes, well, I tell you what, it's not many sleeps now, and I'll be heading to Mildura in preparation for 2 weeks of what promises to be amazing international cricket with the USA, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and of course our very own Spirit of Cricket World 11, headed by Mark Kratzmann and guest vice captain in Adam Dale. So really looking forward to seeing what Adam can bring to the wicket with his bowling, and he's telling me that he wants to bat high, so we'll have to wait and see what Mark Kratzmann's got in store for him. But I tell you what, before we get started, Walshy, I just want to acknowledge 2 organisations the Spirit of Cricket have aligned with, and one is the IF Project from Queensland and Clint Hoffman, and also Blooming Minds from WA, connected with the Sandgropers franchise. So if you're doing it tough and you need a reset, look to both of these organisations, or even reach out to either Walshy or myself for a chat. So, but tonight, let's get Clubhouse underway, and we're going to sit down with a two-time Olympian, Ben Hardy. And we're going to be joined by him. He's worn the green and gold on the world stage more than 400 times. He's represented Australia in volleyball at the 2000 Sydney Olympics. He went on to captain the national team, and in 2007 led his country to an historic gold medal at the Asian Men's Volleyball Championships. After retiring from elite competition in 2011, Ben has returned to his first sporting love, cricket. Now, a powerful opening batsman, I've been told, and a fast medium bowler. I'm sure we're going to find out a little bit more about that shortly. But he's been playing on the veterans circuit for a couple of years now with the ACT second 11 team. But he's set to light up Mildura this September as the marquee player for the Phoenix Firebirds at the Global Spirit of Cricket T20 Festival. Ben Hardy, welcome to the Clubhouse.
Thanks, Telf. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Looking forward to finding out a lot more about you. And I know the man in yellow beside me has got some really curly questions, having been to Olympic Games himself, and he's intrigued, I know, about your story that we're going to share with everyone tonight. But let's get edition 126 started, Ben. And I want you to maybe just start off with your cricket journey and in particular cricket in those early days when you were based in Adelaide.
Yeah, well, I guess that was probably the first place that I really started to play cricket a bit more seriously. It was just really through school. Marrickville Primary actually was where I went to school in Adelaide. And funnily enough, I went there the other day and had a look at the cricket oval that's out the back, and it's changed its orientation now because it used to be straight and you're hitting balls basically into the houses, because it's very small ground. And obviously you go back there and think it looked bigger when I was a kid, but it's a very small ground. And I guess there is where I started to really enjoy playing it. And you have a coach or a teacher that it really enjoys it. And I guess I had reasonable hand-eye coordination and embraced it. My brother played with me as well. And, that was pretty much for me. I was following my brother around, who's a bit older, and playing in his teams. And that's really where my cricket journey sort of started. Being, I guess, in a military family, my dad in the Navy was moving all the time. So it sort of was a bit disjointed the way I played cricket because you'd change states and then you'd end up doing whatever sport the state did. These days, it's much easier to play pretty much whatever you want in each state. There's availability for all the kids to play pretty much whatever they want. But in those days, there was a bit more of a niche sort of, I guess, selection in playing cricket. It was a funny journey because I really enjoyed it and I was quite good at it, and I managed to get in the SAPSASA, South Australian School Kids team, captained that team as a city country back in those days, and then had a bit of a break from cricket until I went to New South Wales, and then we played a bit in the under 14s, I remember, and then I came to ACT, and it's funny because I wasn't really playing any cricket, but one day I was just wearing cricket pants. Which I just was. It's this disorganised kid that I was. I was wearing cricket pants at school, and the guy comes up and he says, "Hey, do you play cricket?" And I go, "Well, I play cricket a bit, yeah." And he goes, "Oh, can you play for our team? Because we're missing a player." And I said, "Okay, no worries." So basically, he said, "Look, do you want to bat at 7 or do you want to bat at 3? Because they're the spots that are available." And I said, "Look, I haven't played cricket for ages. Just chuck me at 7." I think we were 5 for about 20 when I went in. I got 96 not out, and then next game, of course, I'm batting. And then, I guess for me, it started to be a journey of which sport to pick, and I got into that volleyball journey there as well, and that's what ended up taking that over and travelled the world and lived overseas and all that sort of jazz.
Oh, wonderful. And you mentioned that SAPSASA team. Were there any notable South Australians in that team that you can remember?
Whoa, that's a long time ago now. I don't recall, to be honest. I just remember having to be billeted away and playing, representative cricket as it was as a kid, and I don't recall exactly that even the teammates at that point. No.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And then you moved on to the ACT, as you mentioned. And did you pick up an award in the ACT at Year 12, was it, for cricket?
Yeah, well, that was from that funny where I just joined the team and then we went in the final. And I don't know if you guys know who Ricky Stewart is. He's obviously the Canberra Raider head coach. It was quite funny because he was giving the awards for that night. And I was playing volleyball and cricket at the same time. And I didn't get the volleyball award. I got the cricket award as well. And Ricky was the one presenting. But the funny thing is that Ricky had arrived from training directly. He'd forgotten totally that he's going to do this awards presentation for this thing. And he's rocked up in those mini Canberra Raider shorts, apologising profusely for handing out the presentation. So it was memorable, put it that way.
And do you still see Ricky Stewart at all?
Funny enough, I did the other night. I saw him. I think it was Papali'i's 300th game, and then they had a bye, and I just happened to walk past the same place that he was. I didn't say anything to him, but one of those days I might hit him up if I see him again.
Look, one last question before I throw to Walshy, because I know he's desperate to get into the interview. As a kid growing up, and you played cricket, and then you said that you started playing volleyball. Were you a big kid? Because obviously you're a giant of a man now. Playing volleyball.
Really, I grew late. I think that's where volleyball sort of changed for me. Is what reasonably, let's say, the hand-eye coordination thing was fine, and I grew late, and so it was a case of having those small man skills, but then you can transfer that to big man skills, having the small man skills, if that makes sense. So having that late really helped me with that development from a volleyball perspective.
Yeah, very good. Peter Walsh.
Thrilled to have you on board, Ben. Thanks very much for having a chat to us. In this day and age, oftentimes now I could be having a cup of coffee somewhere with Telf, and a tall woman or a tall man would walk past, and I'd automatically think of talent identification. I'd automatically think, oh, well, they would have been plucked to play basketball or netball or a sport where if you are tall, you're a half a chance. Was that in any way, some reason why volleyball appealed to you, or you were picked up by volleyball? Because if you put all of the cricketers that would have been pushed to one side as opposed to volleyballers, the cricket would win out.
Yeah, it's I don't think as much at that stage. I think I had to do a bit of I guess the hard yards to get into the Australian team and so on, as a lot of people do. But because I did grow, and I did grow late, then you're in the ballpark, if you like. So you're about 2 meters tall is pretty much the almost the minimum standard of international what they're looking at these days. So you're talking 6'6", 6'7" type characters. That's about the same minimum, because there's various positions that you play, but that's sort of a standardized height for volleyball, just under that 2 meter type space, and that's where I sit. So it was about the right size and the mobility, and to give you an understanding, even though I'm very close to 2 meters tall, my job was the mobility part of it, ball control, looking after the bigger guys, that sort of stuff. Particularly when you're playing internationally. I remember at that time we had 2 Russians that were 7'3" and 7'4". And that's literally me looking into the small of their back, like you're walking out of the stadium and I'm literally, my eyeballs is in between their shoulder blades. That's to give you an idea of how some of the size of the world stage of volleyball. They're just huge guys.
When you were playing cricket, if someone had a ball and you had a bat, well, you could practice. There's no problem there. Or you'd throw around and take some catches, do all those sorts of things. But if you were going to play a game of volleyball, you'd need to have a certain number of players to make it worth your while. That, to me, would be one of the more difficult things, to make sure you get everyone together at the same time. And you're talking about having international players that were in the team as well. How difficult was it to get together and form some sort of friendship so you knew what was going to happen on court?
It's a lot of practice. I guess you end up joining a club like most things. You join your club and you play in your club game, and a lot of it at a younger age happens with passionate teachers that are doing it at school. So it's one of the sports they choose to do at school, and that's a pathway often to go and do bigger things. Or you just find a club that's in your space. For me, I guess it was lucky enough we have what's called Schools Cup. And that was run in Melbourne at the time, and I was playing for the ACT team. And basically, it's where hundreds of teams get together and compete. I think there was over 3,000 kids playing. So for me, that was a pathway, because I got most valuable player of that tournament, and I basically went from that tournament onto a plane to join the Australian junior team. So the talent identification then was not great. Like they saw me in this tournament. The team's already been selected. The junior team's already been selected. They're traveling through Europe. And I end up joining them for the major tournament, at that point. So talent identification back then, you don't have the same video as you have now. You don't have the same ease of looking at stuff on the internet and viewing old footage, thankfully, as well in some cases. But it's much easier now to get that talent identification going and to join groups that may have self-interest or same interest that you have.
Okay, on our way back to TELF now, I want you to hold our hands, Ben.
Yep.
The team is ready to go on court. Now, give us the positions that are being filled by the respective players, including yourself, as to what you call yourself, what you call your teammates, what positions they play in, because it's a totally different ball game.
So we're talking about indoor volleyball. So that's
yes, we are. Yes.
Side. So you have a playmaker or setter. We call them the setter. So that's the person who effectively decides where the ball to go on the second touch. You have your outsides or receivers. Now the cool kids are calling them pin hitters, because that's the antennas on the outside. They call them pin hitters. They call them outsides, and that's what I play. And then you have middle blockers, which are generally the biggest guys. And they're the ones that do a lot of the blocking and attacking through the middle of the court. And then you have a very ginormous person, which is called the opposite, and their job is to smash the ball. So that's in Australia's case, we've had many guys that close to that 7 foot space, and that's their job, is literally just whack the hell out of it. So there's a few different roles in there. And the outsides do reception, where they serve the ball and you have to receive the ball on your side, and playmaker takes the play, and then they decide what they're going to go from there. So it's quite specialised, and it's very, like you alluded to before, a lot of teamwork, because the tempo is very, very fast. And to give you an idea, the net is 8 foot high in men's volleyball, which is the basic height of an average ceiling. and that we play the game a metre above that. So the game is played way above the height of the net, but the net is basically the height of your house ceiling.
Right, and just to remind people that you're 6'6" tall. So are you the tallest player in the squad, or were you the tallest player for playing for Australia?
No, nowhere near it. No. There's like I was saying before, there's for me, I was that utility player. So one of the people had to get and do the dirty stuff, get the ball off the ground, receive serve, hit the balls on the outside, and basically with more ball control. And that role is probably there with the playmaker, and now they've got the libero, which is generally a shorter person. But you're in that space of not anywhere near as tall as the big guys. We're talking the 6'10" guys, the 7-footers. There's generally a few of those in each of the teams, which are be amazed to see photos where there's people that way taller than I am. But people always think you must be very tall, but I'm not comparatively to international volleyballers.
No, on our way back to Telf, I found something when I was scratching around looking at, not Goss, Ben, I wasn't going for Goss, I was just looking for a little bit of info. And there was someone who was doing some work for one of the European TV networks who was interviewing the player standing beside her. And the player, it's worthwhile jumping on Google and having a look, was 10 foot tall. 10 foot tall. Yep, I couldn't believe it. And I thought, no, and I was working it out and thinking, and details were there. So around the world, 6'6" is nothing. But there'd be a lot of players who are very tall, and with being tall, there has to be that agility, that ability to be able to bounce around and get to all the nook and crannies on the court, no matter what.
No, you're right. I think the tallest guy is 8'3" that plays sitting volleyball. Funnily enough, he's an Iranian, 8'3", 2'40". Oh, he's the height of the net, a volleyball net. But he doesn't play, obviously. He plays sitting volleyball, and he's an Iranian guy. But so internationally, right now, I don't know. We've had many guy over 7 foot play, and it's a different game, a different level for them. You just have to find different ways to get around. Height, you can't beat height. So
no, true enough. Well, Telf, I don't know what you are, but you're not 7 foot, or you're not 6
Well,
foot.
I was just going to say, Walshy, you need to be careful Googling things these days, because there's a thing called AI out there at the moment, and 10 foot tall is pretty tall. So you maybe need to check that it wasn't an AI produced.
Look, I want people to bounce me back on that one, because there's quite a few, but still, anyway, it's all good, because if you're tall, you've got to be able to play the game, and you're playing the game at the best of your ability, being with 2 Olympic Games, no doubt about that, Telf.
Exactly. Ben, you would, I guess, be like the rover in an AFL team, wouldn't you?
A little bit like that, yeah, a little bit. The libero would be an exception to that's only their job, whereas my job is also to hit the ball and spike the ball and play at the net, whereas a libero, his job is to be a defensive specialist and get around in there on the ground, which is our role as well. Well, my role as well is the same. So effectively, yeah, like a rover, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, and coming out of South Australia, did you have an AFL team that you got aligned with? Or have you been converted now that you're in the ACT?
Playing with fire. That was at the time when there was VFL. There was no South Australian team, obviously, in the AFL. So, and I remember the controversy at the time. We had Port, who were winning a lot, and Adelaide, who got the backing and ended up getting the first team to be in the AFL. And they're doing such a good job this year. So it'll be interesting to see how they go. But I guess at that stage, it was where I was introduced to AFL football, would have been there. Dennis Airy, I think his name was, the school teacher at the time, who was very passionate about his AFL. But I don't really think I had an alignment with a team then. These days, I don't really know if I want to mention the team that I'm following, but it's because my dad follows them. So let's just say it's a Southern Victorian team who might have come second in the regular season this year and are looking to get another premiership.
A Southern team, as in Geelong.
Collingwood. Oh, yeah. First guess, Cats. Yep.
Geelong. Okay. Well, just for your own education, both Walsh and myself are Mad Hawk supporters, and we're hoping that we can keep winning and go all the way. But just that moment that you talked about, and I guess that tournament was your sliding door moment where you went from cricket to then really focus on volleyball and be selected in that team that toured.
Yeah. It was, I guess, like I was saying before, in New South Wales when I was there for a little bit on the way through, was where I was introduced to volleyball. And volleyball is a unique sport. You don't have a chance to grab it. The ball bounces, and the only time you've got what's called a closed skill is when you're serving the ball, right? So other than that, the ball's a rebound sport, and I guess that was just I enjoyed that. Like cricket, you enjoy the camaraderie of it, and it was, I guess, opportunities where I was at the time were more in that space, and people grabbed me for the state program, as a kid, and for the ACT, and then it just generated from there. I guess it's not dissimilar in a way to my masters or veterans, journey. Like, I had people who I was playing with say, "Hey, why don't you come along and try? Come along and play. This is good fun, and you'd be good, and et cetera, et cetera." So that's sort of how I started with getting back into cricket at that level. My first thought was I was going to play with my son. My son was playing, and so I was like back into cricket, playing with him. And then he's obviously, like a kid, he's got all sorts of other different things. Playing his AFL, playing his volleyball now too. So he didn't want to dedicate the time in that. So now I was a bit, okay, what do? Do I play a bit more cricket or not play cricket? So yeah, I'm really happy that I managed to do that and have pushed along in that journey.
Excellent stuff. Now, we might just change tact a little bit, and we might focus on the Olympic Games. Had you been touring with the Australian team before the Sydney Olympics?
Yeah, we had. Look, so generally speaking, you go, depends what you mean by touring. Like, I joined the national team back in 1994. So that was my first time. And those days, they didn't have an academy. They just sort of had the Australian team, and they were based all together. So it was a case of, from then, I basically joined the team, was traveling overseas, playing against, the bigger teams. And it wasn't until that Samaranch announced the Olympic Games for Sydney that it changed a lot, because it gave us options now to play elite level guys, like not elite teams. Funding was different. We were able to travel to play all of the best teams on a consistent basis, and it really transformed the way that Australian volleyball played at the time. I mean, we look back at the Sydney Olympics. I mean, we made it through to the quarterfinals. We really had some great opportunities to potentially get into the medal rounds. Like, we weren't far from that outcome. There's a few teams that were on the other half of the draw that we'd already beaten. We were 1-1 against Italy, which is, we're talking top level. We ended up losing that game 3-1, and that would have put us into a semi-final against Argentina, which at the time, Brazil, but at the time we'd had beaten. So there's all these things. Yeah, what ifs, but it was a great performance, really, to get through to the quarterfinals and get ourselves in that space from a really young Australian team, really.
And that Sydney Olympics, obviously, it was a highlight for a lot of Australians. Forget the volleyball side of it. What was the highlight for Ben Hardy during that Olympic Games? Obviously, in your home country, getting to walk out into the Olympic Stadium.
The opening ceremony is probably, outside of the volleyball perspective, like the volleyball side is one thing, but the opening ceremony is another thing altogether. Like, where the village was quite close to Stadium Australia at the time, which was the venue that they'd obviously packed in more seating, and I think it was 120 or so thousand in there. And being Australia, the host country, you go in last, so you're the team that normally Australia goes up towards the front, but because it's in Sydney, you go last. And the way it's done is that they open up basically big, I guess, roller doors, or there's an entry that goes to put big equipment and stuff through into the stadium that they need to. So it's quite large. And we were sitting watching the opening ceremony, because they're trying to rest. You don't want to be standing up for hours, trying to rest beforehand, and watching the performance, which was amazing. And then I remember we walking into the stadium, and all the performers who'd finished were lined underneath the stadium, inside the concrete of the Stadium Australia, just going bananas, right? And it was the loudest thing you'd ever heard inside this concrete bunker of hundreds of people just screaming. And then you walk out into the stadium, and the noise level didn't change. It's just like phenomenal noise. And I remember they gave us these little things to throw into the crowd, and if you ever go back and see the footage, you'll see the Australian team's like 3/4 of the way around, like just stretched in the whole Stadium Australia. And we found out afterwards on eBay, those things were going for like $2,000 a piece that we were throwing into the crowd. So that was an amazing moment, just to be able to watch that. I mean, I remember Kathy Freeman, and she was just with us. He had no idea that she was going to go through and do the amazing things that she did, not only in her performance, but in lighting the flame, etc. But we were with her beforehand, and you had no clue. And then, she's out there, she's doing this stuff and lighting the flame. It was really, really well done. I think was it the something like had 30 seconds of gas. How it's supposed to go up, and it stuck, and then it shuttered and it moved, and I think they had 30 seconds of gas left before it would have just gone out. There was all these things that you hear on the inside. Imagine the flame went out in the Olympic Games, would have been horrendous. But those are some of the things there, I guess, from an athlete perspective, was huge. I mean, the volleyball stuff's a different thing, playing in front of your home country, and I think beating Spain, we beat Spain in the quarterfinals, a do or die match to win that game. And I remember we won. It was awesome. It was a bit like Pat Cash when he won Wimbledon. You know, you can't say your parents are giving hugs to your mum or whatever. And we afterwards we got back to the change rooms, and Spain were just going berserk. The change rooms were going, things going everywhere, flying, yelling, screaming, and so on and so forth. But that was a big moment from a volleyball perspective to beat Spain in the Olympics at home to get through to the quarterfinals too.
Yeah, fabulous. Walshy, I'm sure you would love to ask some questions about the Olympic Games.
Well, I'm scratching my noggin because I wonder, Ben, do you think that Australia and Australians do enough or did enough for our Olympians when you had to become, in inverted commas, normal again? You could walk down the street in Sydney and not be recognised, and I'm not being critical by saying that. But then when you went over to other countries where volleyball was enjoying a lot more of a profile, is it right to say that people knew who you were? And that was the way it was. And that you weren't seeking autograph hunters, you weren't seeking glory, but what was happening was people knew who you were, and that must have given you a buzz.
Look, it was really strange. Like, I'll give you an example. I played in the same team as a guy named Hidde van Beest, another Australian behemoth, large, one of our opposites. We lived in Italy in the first year together, and we would go out. A couple of things we worked out pretty quickly. We'd go out for a coffee at lunchtime, and over there they have like their siesta, and the kids all leave school. And in the place that we were playing is called Kramer, which is quite a small place. But the first thing is they look at us funny because we're ordering a cappuccino at midday, because they don't use milk at midday. The second thing is all the kids asking for autographs. So you'd be sitting there and you're going, like, all these kids asking for autographs. It's like, what the hell is going on here? We had to a point where we couldn't go out in the middle of the day because of this scenario where you just get swamped with kids looking for autographs. So it's a completely different space. Like, I think at Poland, when I finished playing over there, they had 4 live games a week, televised. So we're talking 2 men, 2 women, full panel of experts, the works type thing going on there. It's a similar thing you'll see here in your AFL and in your rugby league or your netball and stuff, and they sit down and they talk in a panel, and it goes for hours. That's the same sort of thing they've got going over there compared to what we've got, or what we'd love to have in Australia, which I know they're trying to get towards, but it's a different beast. The European element compared to Australia, it's a different thing.
Ben, have we got a vibrant competition that we can enjoy in Australia? Do you get the chance to play without going overseas?
Look, they've got Australian competitions on. I know beach volleyball, for example, got the World Championships here, coming here at the end of, well, very shortly actually. So we've got that's in Adelaide. So that's another thing that people can go and watch in Adelaide is the beach volleyball. But from an indoor perspective, it's quite tricky. You've got college programs overseas. You've got national competition, which they are running now, but it's only 6-7 game competition. It's not like they do in Europe where they have an 8-month long competition.
Oh, right.
It's a different beast, and the reality is that if you wanted to play volleyball at a high level, you probably have to go overseas. You can play it here, and a lot of it's the level's okay, and it's a lot of guys who played national team and come back, but the guys who are aspiring and developing, a lot of them will be playing in colleges in in America, or Canada, or they're playing professionally in Europe. That's pretty much where your pathway is.
I don't expect you to throw a cash of figures at me, but the question I'd ask is, would it be worth your while? Could you go overseas and could you sign a contract? And if you really liked the place, could you stay there and that could be it? Could be home for you?
We know players are doing that. Dan Howard, for example, who was Olympian in 2000 and 2004, married an Italian lady. He lives over in Italy. So he ended up playing club there for a long period of time. Another one, Aidan Zingel, is the same. He's living over in Italy. I haven't seen him for years. So yeah, it does happen, like the money side of it's different. It depends on where you play and the level you're playing at. There's certainly opportunities to play professionally, but it depends on where you're playing and even what role you're playing, that can make a difference financially.
Yep, and another quick one from me before Telf. Because of your height, 6'6", and the agility that's needed on volleyball, the surface and getting around, etc., has your body taken any major blows? Have you got through all that you've been playing with all of those appearances that Telf mentioned? How have you stood up to it?
I would say, look, on a whole, okay, but generally speaking, indoor volleyball's a punishment on your body. You're training 6-7 days a week. In Europe, you're playing 3 games a week, European competitions as well. So we're talking about national team. It's almost a whole year that you're continually playing. So you're playing your 8-month in Europe. In that time, you're playing what's called Champions League or, your different European Cups. And then you come back to the Australian team and then you play, for Australia, and you've got all this traveling and playing overseas. And you're working out all the time. You're trying to keep yourself healthy. Physiotherapists get a hell of a workout. And you're right now, the back is stuffed, the ankle's stuffed. Every time I try and go to bowl, when I first started to play cricket, the calf's going. It's like far out. I did an ab. I did a fast bowler ab. Would you believe that? Never done that in my life. Things like that. You just go far out. Where's this come from? And it's because my body's detrained. I used to do all of this training, and now you're not doing as much of that training. So trying to get what is pretty much dynamic sport. You from nothing to go, which cricket is, particularly with your bowling and your batting and even your fielding. You're just not having the body trained. And in fact, when I first started, I was just getting injured a lot. So I didn't bowl because they said, "Oh, Ben, you're just getting injured bowling." It was quite funny. But it's physically, yeah, the body's still sore. A couple of slap lesions in the shoulder, a couple of surgeries in the knee and foot and all that sort of stuff. A couple of wonky fingers and things. Nothing worse than those wicketkeepers get, though.
It's just dot to dot to dot. Yeah, good thinking. All right. Okay, back to you, Telf. I got one curly one for if we get time, but Ben, you're filling us in with being very, very honest and open, which is what we like very much indeed. Telf.
Yeah. Now, we talked about the Sydney 2000 Olympics, and then you headed off to the Athens in 2004 for the Olympics there. Second time round, what was the difference from obviously competing in your home country to then going to Athens?
Yeah, a lot actually from an organisation perspective. I mean, the lucky thing is I had my home Olympics and the home of the Olympics, if you like. I don't know if you recall, but at the time they were having always news reports, and it's every Olympics that's not in Australia. There's always issues with delays of this and that and the other. And we get there a little bit beforehand, and literally they're still buying all the grass in Europe to try and lay in the Olympics at that stage. So a couple of things, for example, they only had one venue in Athens. I guess the accommodation where the village was 40 minutes away from the venue. So you've got game time starting at 9 a.m. in the one venue. And then to get at 9 a.m., you're having breakfast, at 5:30 or 5, to get to that game, to all that preparation. And then 2 days later, you might be playing at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So whereas when you have a home Olympics, you get a little bit, maybe a draw maybe a little bit slightly in your favor, but some of the things like that, especially the Australian Olympic Committee, were really focused on. In the Australian Village, we were with teams they thought would get to the second week. So with the Kookaburras, the basketball, all that sort of stuff, the Boomers in the back, and they put us all in the one space. And they know that these teams go into the second week, whereas you have athletics who play generally a second week sport at all the athletics sport. You have swimming who's all in the first week. So they try to do all that organisational things to look after you from a well-being and sleep perspective. And then the venue travel, they all cleared all the roads and made it quite fast, and it was all very well catered for. So you didn't have to put up with the swimmers coming back partying when you're going to play in the second week. So it was very well organised from that perspective. And you don't have any control over that when you're playing in Athens, for example. I mean, they did a great job. The village was amazing. It was huge. But just the logistics of getting to places is quite a challenge. You got all the security. When they had Athens, they had all their security things changed. So the costs went up exponentially. I think they had, was it 9/11? They had, the whole security element. So, for example, you couldn't get out of your seat for half an hour before landing. They had, all these other provisions about where people were going to stay, and security for the US athletes, all that stuff in Athens was completely different than it was in Australia.
Yeah. And obviously, Greece and the history of the Olympic Games, did you take that in while you were there in Athens as well? Did you get the opportunity to get out and I know you obviously spent time over in Europe playing, but during the Olympics?
Yeah, some of the cool parts where they had the archery, where they had the first Olympic village, so to speak, where the archery was run. From our perspective, it wasn't as successful a campaign. We were in a really tough pool. We had all the ex-medalists in our pool, so we didn't get through, which actually gave an opportunity to watch some other events, which just sounds funny. But in Sydney, when you go through to the quarterfinals, we start the second day and finish the second last day. You're playing the whole time. It's a different thing. When you finish early and have an opportunity to see things like athletics, which is amazing from an Olympic standpoint, just to go out there. I remember Bogut being Bogut, and we went in to watch the Australian girls play, and we sort of managed to get through all the ticketing, because you got passes that are basically for your event. Right, so you can get into your events and see your events. At that time, you would have seen some good fluffle, I think, in Brazil. But hey guys, the volleyball guys, the basketball guys are there, so we're going to go watch the Aussie girls play. I think they're playing New Zealand, and Bogut's come up with a plan. Okay, so guys, we're going to just rush them. If they stop us, we'll go passes up, and because we're all tall, you'll be fine. We just go through and end up watching the girls play New Zealand, which was awesome. But it just gives you a perspective of how elite other sports people are in that place. It is just phenomenal. You sit in the food court, and the athletes that are in there are just the elite of the elite everywhere, and it's just another experience. And I guess from an athlete perspective, you just have to push a bit of that out of your mind and get focused on what you need to do.
Wonderful. And one last question before we go back to Walshy. You had 400 international appearances, as I mentioned early on in the interview here. 4 World Championships, success in Europe, Asia, represented Australia. What in your volleyball career was your proudest moment out of everything that you did?
I think the Olympics would top it. I mean, we still haven't, as a nation, won Asian Championships again since 2007, and that's something that we have to rectify. We've come second. We came second before. We haven't won that again. It'd be really nice to be the #1 team in Asia again. But it's hard to beat, the Olympic Games and the home of the Olympics, and having all your family watching, and at the time, crunch game to beat Spain. It's hard to beat that as the pinnacle moment. I had a great game in that too. So it was, it was one of those things that all went well, and it sticks in your memory, and everyone can remember that day. All the ex-teammates will remember that day, and that we knocked off Spain to get through to the quarterfinals. So that's probably the biggest one.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here at the moment, and I'm thinking about the people in this podcast. We've got Ben Hardy, we've got Peter Walsh, and we've got Anthony Telfer. Between us, we've probably done 5 Olympics between us. Would that be right, Walshy? Have you done 3?
7.
Oh. Well, we've done 9 between the 3 of us. Walshy, over to you.
Look, this could be a good question, or it might be a shocker. We've got our teams in sport that represent Australia, and they've all got nicknames. Now, that's fine. I'll just sort of say Boomers of men's basketball, Opals, women's basketball, Matildas, well, the Hockey Roos, the Dolphins, the Aussie Sharks, water polo, the Kelpies, that's our men's netball team. Help me out. The volleyball team, what's their nickname?
The Volley Roos. You're close.
There's got to be something. Now, look, this is not me being critical, but there needs to be a bit more anger, doesn't there be? The Volley Roos for the volleyball team. Couldn't we get something a bit stronger? Am I off the planet or what?
I mean, it's stuck now. It's in tradition. They use it for beach. They use it for indoor. They use it for both sides. So Volley Roos or a Volley Roo is both beach and indoor. So that's a question. I don't know. I don't think there's been any why to change it.
No, fair enough. No,
what animal are you thinking of?
Oh, look, I don't know, but I thought about, do you sing a song at the end of a game when you've perhaps beaten Spain and you're in the change room? What's the song?
I don't know if I can go into that.
Are there any lines that haven't got swear words?
There's a few swear words in there, but it's one of those ones that I guess started from Dawn Fraser, to be honest, back in the day.
Oh.
So if you honestly see Dawn, you can ask her what song the other
Oh,
volleyball.
you've got a big smile on your face about it, Ben. That's the main thing. I know that there are some absolutely brilliant, and they hang on there, and it's really good. And the one that was a fascination was the Australian cricket team. I wasn't sure what they were called, and I tried to do as much research as I could, and I came up with the name that was thrown into the system, the Baggy Greens.
Is that what they're called?
That's what they're called, the Baggy Greens. If you go to the MCG and watch a test match, Boxing Day and that, and everyone's yelling out, go you wanker, or drink, and I'll do this sort of stuff, but I've never heard anyone yelling out, go Baggy Greens.
Is that something that happened recently, or is that traditionally what it's been called?
I've never, as I said, I'm not sure, Ben.
I've never heard that before.
No, we've got to do some research. You can do that if you like, Tal, if you've got nothing on your plate at the moment.
I'll do that. I'll do that in my spare time. Spare time and a great lead-in, Walshy. Ben, what are you doing now with your coaching role with the AIS now? Is that your employment?
Yeah, no. I'm working in Sport Integrity Australia. So I am coaching a little bit of volleyball. I'm doing some junior stuff with the under 18 men at the moment, or boys. So I'm in that space. I was in Adelaide actually a few weeks ago at Junior Nationals with that particular group. So I'm still involved at that coaching to a degree at that level, and also coaching a little bit domestically. My daughter's playing, so I'm in doing a little bit of coaching. My son's playing, so it's all getting in the blood of the kids. So I am, I guess, still in touch with all those people there. They're doing a great job. It's very tough in this industry at the moment with funding and stuff to make sure you've got enough funding, because volleyball is an international sport. You other ones where you can play very easily state to state. It's a lot of travel even to go into state to play, but ultimately you want to get these kids overseas to play, and it's an expensive venture for them to do that. So you think of a volleyball team, an indoor team at least, you've got 12 players plus staff. So you're talking about 15, 16 people to travel collectively overseas. It's not a cheap enterprise.
And did I see somewhere that you were in management at management level, like a CEO role at Volleyball Australia? Is that?
No, I think that was a while ago talking about the coaching stuff, but no, never been involved in that at that sort of level. No.
Okay, very good. So obviously you played volleyball at the highest level. You've got two kids coming through. They're obviously got dad's genes, have they?
Yeah, my sons, one of them 6'5", one's 6'6". So they're, and my daughter's 6'3". So they're big kids. But it was quite funny because you get these kids and all they want to do is bowl bounces at you. Like bowl bounces at you. It's like, far out, mate. Just bowl a normal line of length. It just. So. No, they're big kids. They're big kids. Quite funny actually playing with my son, because the first thing he wants to do is to try and hurt you. I'm saying, mate, just hit the stumps, will you? Like, seriously.
And so you've got one of your sons that's a mad quick bowler and is trying to knock dad's head off. Is that it?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yep. And it's quite funny when we're going into finals and all the other guys are cracking the shits at him because he's probably he's got this sling action going. It's quite disconcerting if you haven't seen it, because the ball just comes out of nowhere but it's quite funny, like when I first joined with the Masters and the Vets guys, and we're talking about levels that guys have played with each other for a long, long time, and I thought more or less come out of nowhere and put in the lower grade nets, and then you're bowling, and I hadn't bowled much because I was getting injured all the time. I was batting a lot, so I wasn't really bowling, but they look at you and they put you in the third grade, and they go, "Oh, Ben, maybe we'll get you to open the bowling in second grade." And they're like, I bowled 10 overs last year. Now you want to open the bowling, and so it was a bit of a journey of pushing my body and trying to get it to a point where I can actually do this. And then I didn't realise, this is the great thing about veterans or masters cricket, is that after you finish your spell, you can go off and have a drink. How good is that? Sit there and watch the cricket, have a drink, and then watch everyone else do it. I said, this is a great job. So
you might enjoy Mildura even more. You can bowl 4 overs and then go and sit down.
How good's that? So yeah, that was all, and the people you meet, and great bunch of people, great ACT Masters guys, brilliant guys, and trying to improve the level and trying to do great things in this space. And we've got a lot of other guys playing in different franchises as well, and they're all good high quality cricketers. Good, good blokes, and it's just good to see that around this sport at this age you have that environment.
Yep. And one last question before I throw back to Walshy about your cricket in the ACT. The Wood Ducks Cricket Club, is that who you play for? Is that the club that
it's one? Yeah, I have played for them for a long time. Yeah, for a few years. I'm not sure this year continuing at the Wood Ducks or not. Just competing priorities really is the issue. But yeah, the Duckies, they're awesome. The guys are great.
The Duckies, beautiful. Walshy?
Help me out with this one, my friend. What's your best nickname? You've had a few, but what's the one you think that sticks most and you feel comfortable with?
I don't know. They always rip them out. I don't know. Like, it's a good question. I don't even just happy with Benny or something like that. But you've had Captain Kirk. You've had, because my middle name's Kirk, so they had that one.
Yeah, Captain was there for a while, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I don't know. In this space, it's a bit different. You had, had other people calling me silly names, which I don't know if I should repeat. But I don't know. It's pretty much it. I guess they're calling me Captain Kirk is one of the ones, but I don't really attune to that.
That's all right. That's all right. Yeah, well, we'll find out. Don't you worry about that. We'll get a few blokes behind trees at Mildura that are yelling out just as you're coming into bowl, and when they see the steam coming out of your nostrils as you're ready to bowl, are they seeing a different person when you are a competitor as opposed to the laid-back man that we're talking to now who is pretty comfortable?
To a degree, yeah. To a degree. You want to perform well, and it's been a journey for me about how to improve. Like I'm still learning as a cricketer, still learning a lot of stuff, and there's so much experience, particularly at our age. Everyone wants to offer you experience, and it's great. And I'm trying to absorb all this. We just don't have the same level of training that from a volleyball perspective, you're training 6-7 times a week, and from a cricket perspective, you're just not doing that from a cricket skill perspective, and the body as well, balancing all that up. But yeah, definitely, I like to take poles if I can, and take wickets if I can, and just perform at a reasonable level that I'm comfortable with. I think I've learned from a long time, as long as I'm executing what I want to execute, the result takes care of itself. If I want to bowl a certain delivery and I do that, and then something happens, okay, well, that's just cricket, right? Same when you're batting. If you get caught, or you play on, or whatever it might be, or you get fired LBW, then that's just the way it is. It's cricket, so.
Yeah, fair call. Yeah, well answered. Now, just as we head back to Telford, this one to throw in, you're going to be there, you're going to be having fun, but there's always got to be, in the person of your character with a couple of Olympic Games at his credit, that to win is obviously the operative word. You want to go out there and do his very best, and it's a wonderful environment to be involved in. I've been there, and Telf was there, and Telf's a magnificent leader of what we consider our travelling circus. I'm sure, Ben, you're going to have a really good time, and we'll have a good time watching you in action.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And my experience is that you're generally with Ripper blokes and out there all for this collective having a good time and hoping no one gets injured. Like that's one of those things that's apparent as well at this age group, that people end up getting injured for one thing or another. Short singles, not my thing. It worked out. You always got,
and 2 strides to get from one end to the other.
I'm happy to hit a ball for the boundary rather than have a short single. But and you're playing with all these different characters and they have a different level of thinking, and that's going to be the challenge when you're in a group, with Goffey and Co. about the group of players and how they all play together and how you can play with them is going to be a trick in where they want to utilize you. So really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Elf.
We're looking forward to having you in Mildura, and you're obviously the marquee player for the Phoenix Firebirds. How did that all come about? Obviously mates with Tony Branson, I guess.
Well, I played with Tony in the ACT, so I played with Tony, so he knows my cricket background. Also, I guess played a bit of LMS, which Tony likes as well. Like it's one of the games that he really likes, and that's probably more my style, is that T20 style. Even though with the Wood Ducks playing the longer form, and well, I say longer form, we take 45 overs, but it's more my style. It's a bit more stand and deliver and play that higher up tempo game. Is I guess more my style, and I was a bit sort of hesitant with Tony and that sort of stuff. And he said, look, Ben, you'll be fine. This is the right sort of style of cricket for you. And so I said, okay, mate, let's do this. So let's go and do it. And I'm really, there's a few other ACT guys in there that are ripper blokes and bloody good cricketers too. So the level is going to be great. And I'm just hoping that I can get a couple of performances together and do okay.
Take the pressure off.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's funny because you told these guys, Ben, you don't have to hit it harder. So what do you mean you don't hit it harder? It's like, it's hard to, that sort of stuff. But that's what T20 is about, right? So it takes a bit of risk and enjoy it, and I'd say live by the sword, die by the sword. But you have to take some risk in this game.
Yep, and I hear that you'll be potentially opening the batting with Tony. Is that the plan of attack at this stage?
Yeah, it's funny. When I first played vets, I didn't realise there's fielding restrictions, right? So it's like, so if that's what he wants and wants something that's okay, go early, go hard, go over the top, then that's fine. Then that's good.
That's your plan.
Up to Tony and Goffey to say what they want. I mean, I like to play it on its merits, but depending on what's being thrown at you. But it'll depend on what they want ultimately. If you want me to go hard early, then we can go hard early. If you want me to play a role that's later on and at the death or something like that down the order, then that's fine too. I'm happy to sit where Tony and Goffey want me to play, and it'll be good.
Yep. And have you talked about playing with good blokes and all of that sort of stuff? Have you caught up with the rest of the players in your franchise via Zoom?
Yeah. Tony has been really proactive with that stuff. So we've all had team meetings and discussions, and can you get through to the captain what your preferences are and all those sorts of things in preparation. It's been quite phenomenal, actually, the amount of organisation that he's going through. And the best part about it is he's sharing that information with the whole group, so we know exactly where we're at. Some of the merchandise that's coming out is phenomenal. He's done a whole bunch of work to make this successful. So I just hope we can give back by performing well. I know we've got the first game. I've seen we're first up. So he's done a phenomenal amount of work in that space. So let's just reward him by playing well.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Walshy, one last question from you, then we might wrap up and let Ben go, because we've nearly been doing an hour, believe it or not.
Well, Ben, there's so many things that I could ask, but I'll just stick with this pretty much basic one. The challenges that you have put yourself under when you've got a high level to achieve, what would you want out of your body as a batsman, as a bowler and a team leader to walk away with a smile on your face after your exploits at Mildura? What are you hoping for?
Look, I just want to have a positive impact. Physically, I'm gonna have to manage myself, manage my body a bit, but that's okay. I think just want to have a positive impact and maybe hit one out of the ground. That'd be great. That's what it's about.
Have you heard about the sign? If you hit it, it's $25,000.
Did you hear this? Whereabouts you put it?
Where would you like it?
Yeah, so that's the fun part about it, right? So just getting one out of the screws is always fun, but I think just trying to perform well enough and have some solid performances and which is I guess what we're all trying to achieve.
Yeah, sounds good. Looking forward to having you there, Ben. Looking forward to getting a neck brace from Telf and preparing to do an interview with you at some stage. That'll be good. And then I'll be off to the local hospital to get my neck sorted out. Is that right, Telf?
It's amazing these days that tall cricketers are actually attuning to. You got your Tim Davids, your Greens, everyone's going, oh, tall cricketers, they can actually bat.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, there's some definitely some monsters getting around on the world circuit now. Look, it's been fantastic having you on board tonight, Ben. Looking forward to catching up with you in Mildura. Before we say goodbye to you, we allow Walshy to give our sponsor a bit of a plug. So sit back and enjoy the dulcet tones of Peter Walsh.
Thank you, Telf. From manufacturing to delivery, wherever you are in Australia, there's only one name that you need to know. Spot On Hose and Fittings. Based in Wollongong, now with new offices in Newcastle, Spot On is your go-to team for hydraulic hoses, fittings, adapters, valves, and connectors, with delivery available Australia-wide. Here's the best part. They've got on-site testing facilities, so you're getting the highest quality every time. For the mining, manufacturing, agriculture, industrial, or construction industries, Spot On is the team to see. tell Jeff and Ben Charlesworth that Walshy and Telf sent you. Get it? Spot on every time. Spot on hose and fittings, keeping Australia connected, one fitting at a time, Telf.
Beautifully said there, Walshy. Look, if you enjoyed tonight's episode with Ben Hardy, then we'd love you to like, share, and spread the word with all of your cricket mates, and let's keep the spirit of cricket alive and thriving. Keep an eye out next week, Walshy. We've got another exciting episode coming up with another special guest who's heading towards Mildura, and it could be Billy Bowden we might have in the clubhouse. So let's see if we can hook up with Billy. Ben, thanks again, mate, for joining us here in the clubhouse. Hope you've had an enjoyable night, and we look forward to sharing an easy time beer with you in Mildura.
Sounds great, Telf. Thanks, Walshy. Thank
you to you both, gentlemen, and we'll see you soon.
Fantastic, and good night, everyone. Thanks for sharing.
About sportsmanship and standing tall.